I'm Randy Hill, a Texas entrepreneur and inventor, and I fly by the seat of my pants.
I'm his wife, Janeé Hill. I'm a television producer and motivational speaker, and I am tightly wound and love structure.
Country meets culture, where two worlds collide.
It works. Or does it?
They say opposites attract. Or do they?
They do. I really do. I think they do.
My name's Janeé Hill. I'm a television producer and motivational speaker, and I am this guy's wife.
And my name is Randy Hill. I'm a Texas entrepreneur, and I live by the seat of my pants, and I'm her husband.
And the reason that living by the seat of his pants is funny is because I am highly structured. I always like a plan. I'm very neat, very organized, and Randy, not so much.
No.
But I think when you hear a little bit of our story, you're going to see how this yin and yang thing sometimes works, sometimes not so much. We got married in 5 weeks and 6 days.
Now, I would not suggest that for anybody any normal people, anybody at home.
So now you're saying we're not normal?
No.
We're really not normal. And when we say 5 weeks and 6 days, we're talking from the time we met.
The very first time that we met until the day we got married. 5 weeks, 6 days.
Yep. And today we're going to give you a little bit of that story just to give you some insight into us. And then we'll also tell you what you can expect from Country Meets Culture moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay.
Giddy up.
Giddy up. Whoop, whoop. So I was eating at a restaurant in Fort Worth, Texas, and I hear this guy. He's talking loudly, and he's talking country about television and NASCAR, and I was like, who is this bonehead? I mean, I could just...
You didn't think I was a bonehead.
I really did.
No, you didn't.
Especially when I saw the hat. But I go to the bathroom, and I come back, and I give him my business card. I said, my name's Janeé. I'm a television producer, and I think I can help you. Because he was wanting to be on television. To which he replied,
Maybe I'm not interested in business.
yes, that is really what he said. And, you know, like any sweet Southern belle, my response to that was very logical and very thoughted. I got to know what's under the hat. I'm just curious.
Well, I'll show you. It was a full head of hair.
Uh-huh.
No bald spot.
Yep.
No thinning.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It said, I'm not hiding anything.
Yeah. And so next thing you know...
She went home with me that night.
No, I did not go home with you that night.
We did go out to dinner.
We did go out to
To
dinner.
another Mexican food place.
Yep. And before dinner, I said, let's pray and bless dinner. And I think Randy almost fell out of his chair because he was thinking about taking me home later that night, not praying.
Why would you say that?
Am I wrong?
No. Well, I mean, if
hello.
you would have offered, I probably would have. But, I mean, that's not what I was thinking about. In fact, if I remember correctly, I said the prayer.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Guys will do anything to
Impress a girl.
win over a girl. But seriously, I am, I've not always been a good Christian girl, but I really try to live my life that way now. And so after I had met Randy, he'd been married before for a long time. I was up in years. I won't tell you how many years, but like the physical thing was tough. And so Randy and I met with a counselor, and the counselor gave us some advice.
Now, what guy?
I'm not sure.
What guy in the world goes with a girl that he just met and goes to her counselor?
And why would I take him to a counselor?
Why would you even invite me? Why would I agree to that?
But you did.
I don't understand.
But you did.
I did. I went to the counselor, and the counselor says, well, you know, if things are tough and y'all really want to be together and you think that's something that you're going to do in the future,
you could go ahead and
get married.
Make it right before God, and then you can have sex. So that really the counselor didn't say then you can have sex, but that really was what kind of hatched the plan. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really think we would get married soon.
She didn't think we would get married soon, but she brought a wedding dress.
Brought a wedding dress. So let me back up and fill you in. Randy's parents were going to Hawaii.
Kauai has been a very special place for my family for many, many years.
And so they were going to go.
They called and said, hey,
Short
why
version.
don't you take a little break? Come over here. Your dad and you can play golf, and I'll take care of you and cook all the meals and everything, just like when you were a little boy. Come over here and we'll take care of you. We'll have a fun time.
And
So
Randy
I said,
says,
I think I want to bring a friend.
And little did they know it was a little haughty. And I jokingly aside, so I go to lunch with some girlfriends before we left for Hawaii, and they were like, well, wait, it's Hawaii. Do you think you'll get married? And I'm like, oh, please. The only way we would get married is if his parents were on board with that. Now, I thought there was no way they would be on board with that. They are conservative Church of Christ people. They'd never met me. But one of my girlfriends says, well, I have a white dress I'm going to give you just in case.
Just in case.
Yeah,
Just in
so
case.
I take the dress just in case, but I really, truly didn't think it would happen. So we've been in Hawaii 24 hours. Randy proposes.
Janae's already checking out the marriage places, where you can.
I was just dreaming for future trips.
Yeah, okay.
Planning. But no, Randy proposes. We tell his parents, and his dad said, well, who's going to marry you? And I think this is great because, see, they're already not on board. And his dad says, I could marry you. I'm an ordained minister. Yes, this truly went down this way. And so next thing I knew, we were going to get married in Hawaii. I'm going to one of Kauai's finest jewelry stores, Kmart, where I was picking out a wedding ring for Randy. And I pick out the cheesiest ring for $19.99. It was $22.66 with tax, thinking that when we got back, Randy would get a new ring. Well, here we are years later.
At that time, I was wearing about a $30,000 watch, so it did not go with what I was wearing.
Yeah, but you're not
I'm not wearing
ostentatious at all. But anyway, so Randy is still wearing the ring. You'll notice that. Now,
$22 and
66 cents with tax. But in addition, and we're getting some.
And she probably still has the receipt for that purchase. I'm sure that's.
I'm a good,
sure
frugal woman.
Yeah, she keeps all the receipts.
I needed to see if I could write it off later. I'm just saying.
Write off your wedding band.
But
I tell people. I said, she said, oh, when you get back, you can get something new, and you can get one of those cobalt rings or whatever that's the popular thing. I said, no. So when I'm dead and gone, the kids are going to say, Daddy always wore that sweet little ring from Hawaii. And it's a cool little ring. It's got little flowers on it. And
someone at the Country Meets Culture Facebook just said, wow, that is super romantic. Go, Randy. Way to take Janeé out of her comfort zone.
Oh, yeah.
Now
here's the other part. My mom and dad had no idea that this was going to happen. This was going to come together. So we go looking for rings, and that night,
Randy thought I maybe needed a little bit more than Kmart.
Yeah.
Not saying there's anything wrong with Kmart.
We hadn't purchased anything yet, and I think we were going to go over to Princeville and look at some high-end stores and stuff. Anyway, my mother calls me that night on my cell phone, and we weren't staying with my parents too. I mean, we were at our
we
own.
had our limits.
Yeah, we had our own resort, and so anyway.
But we weren't having sex, just to put it out there. We weren't sleeping together yet.
Are we now? I'm kidding. But
depends if you behave.
Yeah. And so my mother calls and she says, for some reason, I brought your grandmother's diamond ring with me to Hawaii. And I don't know why I brought it. Would you like to use it? I'm like, oh. This ring was pretty special. My grandfather worked for Dallas Transit, DART, here in Dallas. He was a cashier. And DART used to have a system to where when they found lost and found items, you could purchase them after they sat and lost and found for a certain amount of time. So over the years, my grandfather purchased little rings and stuff, and then had my grandmother, before she passed away, this ring made for her. And before my grandfather passed away, he gave it to my mother. And so it's a special family heirloom. And it was just special. It was just really something really neat.
Yeah, and I think we have a picture of this Hawaii wedding. We are quite. There we are.
My swollen face, where I look like I've been on a 15-week NASCAR tour.
Microblading with my eyebrows.
Ooh, I like that curl. If you saw our little boy, you would know where it comes from.
Yes. So, it truly was a really exciting, sweet time. But there were a couple of kinks. Number one, Randy has 3 daughters from a previous marriage. I had not met those 3 daughters yet. Number 2, Randy had a condo in Fort Worth where I was living, but he had a home about 2 hours away. So I had never been to his home. So I never met
You
the
said
girls.
where you were living.
I was living in Fort Worth at the time.
You had an apartment.
Yeah,
I
but
also
you had
a
a condo. Yeah.
and then had my house, what we've referred to as Cabela's.
Yeah, because it had 17 game mounts in the living room. Just in the living room. I think it had like 36 total game mounts in the house. Obnoxious. And I am a cultured girl. I like hunting and fishing only when it's kind of out at our lake house. The hat, like I'm not into cowboys, or at least I wasn't then.
She is now.
Giddy up. But like I said, I hadn't met the girls. I hadn't seen his house. We do not recommend the way that we got married. I mean, it was maybe for the
No,
right reasons.
This is not something that you do at home.
No.
Don't try this on your own.
But we wanted to make it right before God, before we were intimate. I realize I'm probably giving y'all way too much information. And so in our mind, this was a good plan. And the way this was going to go down is we were going to only tell our parents, and then when we came back from Kauai, I was going to meet the girls, get to know them, and then months later, we would have an official wedding.
Like a big ceremony in Fort Worth, and
It
we
was
would have
an absolutely great plan.
It was a great plan. It was awesome. So
Until-
we got married on Friday evening.
Yep.
June the 7th, and my
I'm
parents.
impressed that you remember that.
Yeah, thank you. I do remember anniversaries. The next day, we talked to my parents, and my mom and dad. My parents said, "Hey, why don't you come to church with us tomorrow?" I'm like, "This is awesome. I got my new bride. We're going to go to church with my parents. This is going to be great."
So we show up at this church. There's like 14 people in the whole church. And the pastor says, "I see some visitors. I'm going to let y'all introduce yourselves." And I'm thinking, this is awesome. It's going to be the first time I'm introduced as Mrs. Hill. And so Randy stands up. He's white as a ghost all of a sudden. And he goes, "I'm Randy, and that's Janeé." He doesn't even say, "That's my wife." And I'm like, what in the world is going on?
So afterwards, she asked me, she goes, "What's going on with you? Why are you acting so funny?" And I told her, I said, sitting on the front row was my college roommate from college who grew up with my ex-wife. And his wife was my ex-wife's college roommate in college. So I told her, I said, "We don't have to worry about telling the girls. They're going to find out in about 2 hours." Well, by the time we got out of church, my oldest daughter's texting me, "Who did you marry? What are you doing?" So this plan of the great come back home and ease into it.
It was
Talk about a shotgun wedding.
Yeah. Minus, I guess.
Double barrel.
Yeah.
Over and under.
And Teresa on Facebook just wrote in and said that is the craziest story. And it really was the craziest story, but it gets better. When we first get back to the States, it's Father's Day weekend. And so I get to go to the house that I'd never seen and meet the new stepdaughters. And so literally I was like, "Hi, girls. My name's Janeé. I'm your new stepmom. And where's the bathroom?"
And it may sound very romantic,
Yeah.
coming home with Cinderella, but
Yeah, and not really wisdom on our part. And it was really rough. And next week we'll get into a little bit more of how that's worked for us or hasn't. And we'll also kind of talk about some of these crazy ways that we tried to blend our family. I mean, we take antics to a whole nother level, but you're going to have to stay tuned for that. We are doing this podcast because,
let's say it, country meets culture.
yes, that's the name of it.
Country meets culture. No, country meets culture.
Yeah, surprisingly, the guy in the hat is the country, and I am more of the culture. And we are total opposites in so many, many ways. And we talk to other couples that are opposites a lot too. And so we think that there's lots of opportunities for us to all learn together. And so each week, there's going to be a new challenge that Randy and I are going to participate in on our social media channels. And oftentimes these challenges are going to come from you. So if you all have ideas that you would like to see Randy and I do, someone dared us years ago to take me to a rodeo or to a cowboy church. That was hysterical. Someone else, has dared me to bring Randy to one of my hoity-toity society events. He likes to wear his hats. We'll let you know how that works.
Yeah, we'll tell you about that story about the hats.
Yeah, but for sure you want
Easter seals.
Right. Stay tuned. Follow us at Country Meets Cultures. Thanks for listening today. And remember, you can either ride off into the sunset or take separate exits. Which one will you do?